You don't need to drop the price automatically of a virtual event as compared to a live event. In this video, I'm going to share with you how to maintain and even increase the value of your virtual events so that you can charge as much or even more than you would for a live event. So transitioning from live events to virtual ones has been really challenging for me personally and for many of the clients I work with. And what ends up happening is there's a temptation to drop the price. Right away, there's this perception that virtual is somehow less valuable than a live event. And I get it because I personally believed that too, until I had the beautiful experience of 2020 to show me otherwise. So quick recap of 2020 for me is I've had a successful live event business for 14 years. And for the last 6 years, that business has been even more successful because I've reduced it to small retreats, an immersion program. Now, that event model that I use, I'm not going to get into it today. You can see it if you click on my How to Create a Retreat business up above. But essentially, that model has been really good, and I was very attached to it. I didn't want to switch to virtual. Before the whole COVID thing happened, if you had asked me if I would take my event virtual, I would have told you, no way, no how, impossible, it would never work virtually. And then March 2020 rolled around and my live retreat, I either had to cancel it or I had to take it virtual. Now I wasn't gonna cancel it because I had too many clients who were waiting for it, who needed it, were relying on it. And quite honestly, I didn't want to have to refund all that money, especially when I knew that I could still serve them. Now, I still had the belief that I couldn't serve them as well virtually as I would have live, but I went ahead and created the virtual program anyway. The surprise was that the event was just as powerful and maybe even more powerful because we were able to do a few things that we've never done live in person. And so I'm going to share with you some of what those things are. And tell you that the next retreat we did in June, we did it virtually. September, we did it virtually. And December, we did it virtually. And now in 2021, I've gone ahead and made the decision that whether or not we can meet live, we're still going to keep doing 2 virtual events out of 4 every single year. So that's how much I've fallen in love with this model. So there are 3 things to keep in mind, 3 secrets, if you will, to help you make this transition gracefully and elegantly and profitably. So the first is sell the promise, not the production. See, one of the things that happens with live events that doesn't happen with virtual ones is we can get caught up in the details, in the production. We can get caught up in the venue, the food and beverage, the amenities, the hotel, the city, all the things that go along with creating a live conference that are not involved in creating a virtual one. See, in a lot of cases, all of those things are distractions from the actual value proposition of the event. So stripping away all those excess things can leave us with something really powerful, and that is, what is the outcome we're committed to delivering? When you take away all the bells and whistles, what's left is the value proposition for the event, the promise. So when we're creating a virtual event, it's fundamental to figure out what is that promise. Now, I like to say that the promise is basically the cure to a disease. Essentially, instead of selling the medicine, you're selling the outcome, the cure that people want. Instead of selling the workout that people take and have at the gym, you're selling the hot body. Instead of selling the plane that takes you on a vacation, you're selling the destination. That's what a virtual event promise is. It's what's the thing that they're going to walk away with. What's the thing that they're going to have when all is said and done? If you really nail down your event promise, you can have a very powerful event and you can price your event as high or even higher than you'd price a normal conference. So a really juicy conference promise is, for example, one of my clients. Her name is Leanne Webster, and she has an event called Lead Machine Weekend, which she took virtual this year several times. She used to do it live. Now, Lead Machine Weekend is $1,500. And when she decided to go virtual, she briefly toyed with the idea of dropping the price. But she decided to hold her price integrity. And lo and behold, she was able to fill the event more because she was really committed to the promise. What was the promise? The promise was by the time you finish, by the time you leave this event, you'll have your entire lead machine online built and operational. Now, a lead machine is a landing page, a lead magnet, an email follow-up sequence, and a plan for 90 days worth of content. So that's worth $1,500 whether you meet live in person or whether you meet virtually. Think about it. It doesn't matter to somebody how they get that outcome. What matters is that they get the outcome. And the beauty is when they do it in a virtual format, they don't have to pay for airfare. They don't have to pay for hotel. They don't have to pay for travel or leave their home or find a daycare for their dog or for their kid. They get to do it from the comfort of their home. And to some people, that's even more valuable than having the live event experience. So the second thing to think about in order to be able to charge a nice high price point for your virtual event is don't just try to take your live event and turn it into a virtual one. You want to reimagine your event in new ways and take advantage of the things that you can do virtually that you could never do live. So for one example, if you're not investing all that money in the production of the event, in the AV and the hotel and the food and beverage, that means you might have a larger event budget and you can invest in a much better speaker to bring them into your event. And the cool thing is many speakers are actually charging less for virtual events because they don't have to travel or take time away from home. So it's a win-win. So think about, instead of feeling constrained by the fact that you have to do this event virtually instead of live in person, think of it as liberation. What are the things that you can afford to do and that you can try that you would never be able to do live in person? Now, the last thing I want you to consider as we look at creating virtual events is actually raising your price. I know that sounds crazy because most people think, okay, we're going from live to virtual, we should lower the price. But I actually think that instead of bigger is always better, think deeper and more profound. How can you create a more intimate experience virtually? There's a temptation to think, oh, well, since it's virtual, we can go much bigger. But what would happen if you did the opposite? If you actually thought, all right, what if we went smaller and we offered a more profound experience with fewer people at a higher price point? This is the model that has been a game changer for me. I used to do 200, 300, 600 person events, and I used to be exhausted doing it. Then I switched to a small event, a retreat model, and my business blew up. It went so much better, generated so much more money, and it was so much more joyful and energy rich for me. So instead of having a virtual conference that's, say, $100 a ticket for 500 people, what if you did a virtual conference that was $2,000 a ticket for 10 people? And then at that event that people paid $2,000 to participate in, you offered an even higher, more masterful program on the back end of that. And anybody who invested $2,000 in a ticket might invest $20,000 in a whole year-long program. So think about things in a new way and challenge your own beliefs about what's possible. Think different. Go contrary to the common tendency that people have to think virtual must mean bigger. And I know I just promised you 3 things, but actually I thought of a 4th bonus thing that's even better than the other 3 things that I've already shared. But before I tell you that, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Okay, here we go. The last thing to remember, whether it's a live event or a virtual event or a big event or a small event, is that the real money isn't in the event itself. It's in the big back end. It's in what comes after the event. Any event, just by virtue of it being an event, is short. There's only so much you can accomplish in 1 day or 2 days or even 3 days. In that time frame, you can have a really important breakthrough, but you can't fully master anything. Mastery takes time, and time means an investment of time and energy and focus. And that means that you can use your breakthrough event to generate enrollments into a big back end that offers monthly recurring revenue, that offers true mastery, that offers ongoing support and engagement with people. I am such a fanatic, such a believer in the fact that if you focus on the big back end, you will always have business. You will always be safe because that creates stable, sustainable revenue. So you know what you're making 3 months from now, 6 months from now. You have a longer runway and room to breathe and be more creative from that position of safety and security. If this video resonated with you, if you're excited about the opportunity to create virtual events and drive big back-end revenues from them, please set up time on my calendar. Let's discuss if and how my team and I can support you in building and growing your event business. You can find me at superstaractivator.com/go, and you can book time directly onto my calendar right there. I'll see you soon.